The first time I saw Park Min-jae, I was holding a jar of kimchi and arguing with a man twice my size. "You cannot shut my restaurant down," I said. The health officer shrugged. "Your landlord sold the building. New owner. New rules." Behind him, workers were already pasting red closure notices on my windows. My hands shook. This tiny restaurant was everything I had built after 10 years of saving. "Who bought it?" I asked. The officer pointed across the street. A black car had just stopped. A tall man stepped out. Calm. Sharp suit. Cold eyes. Everyone on the street seemed to notice him. "Park Group," the officer said quietly. My stomach dropped. Even I knew that name. The biggest food distribution empire in the country. And apparently the man who now owned my building. I marched straight across the street. "If you think you can bully small businesses." The man looked down at the jar in my hand. "What is that?" he asked. I blinked. "Kimchi." He took the jar gently, opened it and tasted it with a chopstick. Then he looked at me again. And for the first time his expression changed. "This," he said slowly, "is the best kimchi I have tasted in my life." I frowned. "What does that have to do with you destroying my restaurant?" His answer changed my life. "I am not destroying it," Park Min-jae said. "I am about to build an empire around it." I thought he was joking. Powerful men like jokes. Especially when poor people were the punchline. "Give me my jar back," I said. Instead, he handed it to his assistant. "Schedule a meeting," he said. I laughed. "I'm not joining your corporation." "You misunderstand," he replied calmly. "I am joining yours." That made even the workers stop moving. "What?" He looked around my small restaurant. Cracked walls. Plastic chairs. A hand-painted sign. "You built this alone?" he asked. "Yes." "How many recipes?" 23. "How many jars per week?" 300. He nodded slowly. "You are wasting your life." My anger returned instantly. "Excuse me. You should be selling 3 million. Silence fell. Then I laughed again. "You are insane." His assistant leaned closer and whispered something. Min-jae smiled slightly. "Ms. Adana Okoye," he said. My heart skipped. "You studied fermentation science in university." My stomach dropped. "You worked 3 jobs after graduation." My voice came out small. "How do you know that?" He closed the jar of kimchi. "Because before I buy something," he said calmly, "I learn everything about it." Then he looked directly at me. "And I want to buy your future." I should have said no. Any smart person would have. But desperation is louder than logic. "How much?" I asked. Min-jae smiled. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you are brave." I folded my arms. "Explain." He gestured toward my restaurant. "I could turn this into a global brand. Or you can stay small forever." "That is not a choice," I said. "It is," he replied. Then he leaned closer. "And powerful people are already trying to steal your recipes." My chest tightened. "What?" He watched my reaction carefully. "Ah," he said softly. "So you did not know." My stomach twisted. "Who?" He straightened his jacket. "A company called Han River Foods." I knew that name. They had tried to buy my recipes last year. I refused. "They cannot steal anything," I said. Min-jae's eyes darkened. "Companies like that do not steal food," he said quietly. "They steal people." Something cold ran down my spine. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "A partnership." "And what do you get?" His answer was simple. "Control." I stared at him. At the calm confidence. At the way everyone around him moved like satellites around a planet. "You already control everything," I said. He shook his head. "Not yet." Then he pointed at the jar of kimchi. "But that," he said, "might change the balance of power." 3 days later, I walked into the tallest building I had ever seen. Park Group headquarters. The lobby alone looked more expensive than my entire neighborhood. I almost turned around. Then a voice behind me said, "Running away?" "Min-jae." "Of course." "I am thinking," I said. That is dangerous, he replied. We took the elevator together. Top floor. When the doors opened, the entire city spread out beneath glass walls. How many companies do you own? I asked. Enough. That is not a number. Numbers attract enemies. I frowned. You already have enemies. He looked amused. Yes. That answer bothered me. We entered a conference room where 10 executives waited. They all stood up. Not for me. For him. Min-jae gestured toward the table. Tell them about your kimchi. I blinked. That is it. Yes. I took a breath. My grandmother started the recipe. The room went quiet. She taught me fermentation is about patience. One executive leaned forward. How scalable is the process? I hesitated. Min-jae answered instead. As scalable as we decide. Another executive asked. What makes it different from competitors? I met their eyes. Because I do not rush it. Silence. Then Min-jae smiled. That, he said, is exactly why we will win. The deal was insane. Even my lawyer thought so. They are offering you equity, he whispered. Not just salary. I stared at the contract. Why? He shook his head. Billionaires don't share power. I glanced at Min-jae across the table. He was watching me. Calm. Patient. Like a man who already knew my answer. What is the catch? I asked. He leaned back. 3 conditions. Of course. First, he said, we move production immediately. Fine. Second, you become the face of the brand. I hesitated. I'm not a celebrity. You will be. And the third condition? His voice became quieter. You trust me. That made the room tense. Trust a billionaire? Ridiculous. Why? I asked. Because powerful people will attack us. Us. Yes. And when they do, he said, you cannot panic. I stared at him. You sound like you're expecting war. Min-jae's expression didn't change. I am. The attack started 2 weeks later. First came the rumors. Online posts claiming my kimchi was unsafe. Fake photos. Fake reviews. Sales dropped overnight. I stormed into Min-jae's office. You said you would protect the company. He didn't look up from his tablet. I am. Then why is this happening? Because, he said calmly, our enemies just revealed themselves. That answer nearly made me scream. This is my life. He finally looked at me. Yes. And that is why we are going to destroy them. Something in his voice made the room colder. How? I asked. He tapped his tablet. A screen lit up. Documents. Emails. Bank transfers. Evidence. They bribed inspectors to shut you down, he said. My blood ran cold. You knew. I suspected. And you waited? Yes. I stared at him. You used my restaurant as bait. He didn't deny it. Power requires patience. I was shaking now. You should have told me. He stood slowly. If I had, he said, you might have stopped me. And then we would lose. For the first time I saw the real Park Min-jae. Not the polite businessman. The predator. You planned this, I said quietly. Yes. You let them attack me. I let them expose themselves. That is the same thing. No, he replied. It is strategy. I should have walked away. But I didn't. Because part of me wanted revenge too. What happens now? I asked. He smiled slightly. Now we cook. Cook. He slid a document toward me. A launch schedule. Global. 3 continents. This is insane. Probably. You enjoy this, don't you? Winning. Yes. A pause. Then he said something unexpected. No. I frowned. Then why do it? His voice softened. Because losing once was enough. I realized then that I knew almost nothing about him. What happened? I asked. He looked out the window. A long time ago, he said. Someone destroyed my family. The room felt quieter. And now? I asked. He looked back at me. Now I make sure no one can ever do that again. The product launch exploded. Not slowly. Not carefully. Exploded. Within a month, Okoye kimchi was trending worldwide. Food bloggers loved it. Chefs praised it. Even critics admitted it was different. Sales tripled. Then quadrupled. I stood in the new production facility watching thousands of jars move down the line. This is insane, I whispered. Min-jae stood beside me. You say that a lot. Because my life used to be normal. Normal is overrated. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Stop now or lose everything. I showed him. He barely reacted. Expected. You're not worried? No. Why? He turned to me. Because the real war hasn't started yet. And somehow, I believed him. The threat messages kept coming. Different numbers. Same warning. Stop expanding. Stop competing. Or else. I tried to ignore them. Min-jae did not. He increased security around the factory. Around me. Around everything. You're overreacting, I told him one evening. No, he said. I'm preparing. For what? He studied me for a moment. For the day they stopped sending messages. That answer stayed in my head all night. Because I realized something. He wasn't afraid of threats. He was afraid of silence. The silence came 3 days later. Our largest shipment disappeared. An entire truck. Gone. Insurance called it theft. Min-jae called it war. I walked into his office. You were right. He nodded once. Of course. I crossed my arms. You're enjoying this again. No. Then why do you look calm? Because now, he said, I can finally respond. He picked up his phone. And everything started moving. Lawyers. Investigators. Reporters. Within hours, news broke. Han River Foods had been illegally sabotaging competitors, including us. Their stock collapsed overnight. I stared at the screen. You destroyed them. Min-jae shook his head. No, they destroyed themselves. But I noticed something. He didn't look happy. He looked tired. And for the first time, I wondered what kind of life created a man like him. Fame is stranger than people think. 1 month earlier, no one knew my name. Now strangers ask for selfies in grocery stores. Do you like it? Min-jae asked. Not really. He smiled slightly. Good. That's good. Yes. Why? Because power changes people. And you. I was changed a long time ago. I studied him. You still haven't told me what happened to your family. His jaw tightened. Another day. But something told me that day was coming. Soon. The night everything changed again started quietly. Dinner meeting. Investors. Wine. Then gunshots. The restaurant erupted into chaos. Security rushed in. People screamed. Min-jae grabbed my arm. Stay behind me. 3 masked men ran inside. Not robbers. Targets. Security tackled one. Another fled. The third aimed directly at Min-jae. I froze. Time slowed. Then someone else moved faster. Min-jae. He shoved me down. The shot rang out. And blood hit the floor. For a second I thought he was dead. Then he groaned. The bullet had hit his shoulder. Security pinned the attacker. Police arrived minutes later. The restaurant smelled like smoke and fear. I sat beside him in the ambulance. You idiot, I whispered. He looked pale but amused. You're welcome. You could have died. Yes. And you're smiling? A little. Why? His voice was quiet. Because now you understand. Understand what? That this world is not about food. The ambulance doors closed. It's about power. The hospital was chaos. Reporters everywhere. Police questions. Lawyers whispering. I sat in the hallway waiting. Finally, the doctor came out. He'll be fine. My legs almost gave out. When I entered the room, Min-jae looked exhausted. You should rest, I said. So should you. I hesitated. Why didn't you tell me it was this dangerous? Would you have stayed? I thought about it. No. Exactly. I sat beside the bed. You're impossible. He smiled weakly. And yet you're still here. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to leave. Recovery forced him to slow down. For the first time since I met him, Park Min-jae stopped running the world. And I saw the human side of him. He liked quiet mornings, strong coffee, old jazz music. You're not what people expect, I said. That's intentional. And what do you expect from me? He thought for a moment. Honesty. That's all. That's rare enough. I laughed. You're strange. Probably. A pause. Then he asked quietly, are you afraid? Of what? Being part of this life. I looked at him, at the scars, at the power surrounding him. Yes, I admitted. Good, he said. Fear keeps people alive. 3 months later, our company was unstoppable. Factories expanded. New markets opened. Money poured in. But enemies never disappear. They wait. One night, Min-jae handed me a file. What's this? History. Inside were documents about his family. Destroyed businesses. Legal attacks. Bankruptcy. This is what they did to us, he said quietly. Who? A group of investors. I looked at the names and felt cold because one name stood out. My ex-mentor. The man who taught me food science. You didn't know, Min-jae said softly. No. But now you do. And suddenly the war felt personal. Anger is powerful fuel. I threw myself into work harder than ever. New products. New campaigns. New strategies. Min-jae watched quietly. You're changing, he said. Good. Or dangerous. What's the difference? He smiled. None. For the first time I understood him. Power wasn't about money. It was about protection. And revenge. The confrontation happened at a business summit. My former mentor approached me smiling. Adana, he said warmly. I didn't smile back. You tried to destroy my company. His expression didn't change. Business is business. Not anymore. Min-jae stepped beside me. The room went silent. And the balance of power shifted. Within weeks their empire collapsed. Investigations. Fraud cases. Investors fleeing. I should have felt victorious. Instead I felt something else. Heavy. You see now, Min-jae said quietly. Winning isn't clean. No, I said. But losing was worse. That night we stood on the roof of headquarters. City lights everywhere. Was it worth it? I asked. He thought for a long time. Yes. Then he looked at me. But only because I didn't do it alone. The company became global within a year. Food shows. Awards. Recognition. But the most important moment happened quietly. A new sign went up. Okoye and Park Foods. I stared at it. You changed the name, I said. He nodded. Power should be shared. People often ask when I realized I loved him. It wasn't dramatic. No fireworks. Just a quiet moment in the factory. Watching workers laugh. Watching our dream move down a conveyor belt. And realizing we built it together. The world still calls him dangerous. Ruthless. Untouchable. They're not entirely wrong. But they also don't see the man who tastes every new batch of kimchi like it's sacred. Or the man who saved my life more than once. Sometimes I think about that first jar of kimchi. How close I came to losing everything. And how strange life is. Because power didn't destroy me. It found me. If you ask Park Min-jae how it all started, he gives a simple answer. A jar of kimchi, he says. But I know the truth. It started with something much bigger. Blood. Risk. And the moment two stubborn people decided to change the world. Together.